All right, Bonnie, thanks very much. Time now for Bonanza. It follows us into the new year as well, into 2014. This is where we're going to hit on some of the big topics that we've discovered here this bowl season. And if I had a nickel for every time this man boasted this year about UCF, I'd have at least enough to buy a cup of coffee, at the very least, maybe lunch or something like that. You've talked about this team since going back to August. What did you see in this team early on in the season that the rest of us missed?
I'll tell you what I saw back in 2004 was a hiring of a coach named George OLeary, a very hard-nosed coach. He has very disciplined players. They like to run the ball. They stop the run. Their quarterback doesn't turn it over. The style that he implemented there, it's paid off. It paid off in the MAC, paid off in Conference USA, and it's paying off now in the AAC. They didn't win a game his first year there. Now they just won a BCS bowl game against Baylor, against a big-time Big 12 competition. And the thing is, it starts with George OLeary. It trickles down. You see how great Blake Bortles is now. They're talking about he's the best quarterback in college football, but all starts with OLeary.
They'd never gone to a bowl game before OLeary got there, and he's taken them to everyone since. The bowl season, a chance for players, whether individually try to impress a coach for the next season, maybe some upperclassmen trying to impress NFL scouts. For some players, a chance to launch their Heisman campaign. Who used the bowl game at the best opportunity to get in the Heisman conversation next year?
I got to show the running back some love. Got to start with LSU. Jeremy Hill went off against Iowa. The score is not indicative of how good of a game he really had. With him playing in the SEC, if he carries that over the next season, there's no reason why his name won't be brought up week one and into the season, along with other backs in that conference like Todd Gurley. Look at Gordon, what he did for Wisconsin. And then there's other guys, Brett Hundley, Petty, Mariota, and also watch out for Miles Jack. Keep that name. Keep that name from UCLA. Two-way guy, runs the ball, plays linebacker. If he makes a bunch of big plays next year, his name's already on the map. Yeah. He keeps it up. You never know.
Here's a name that nobody will forget anytime soon is Johnny Manziel. And, boy, he certainly improved his NFL draft stock, talking about making an impression in the bowl season with a comeback victory over Duke. Fill in the blank here for me. Johnny Manziel is the best college football player since...
To me, I'm going to go with Reggie Bush. And here's where I go with it, is that you can look at some of the things Johnny Manziel did. He's a quarterback. He touches the ball on every single play. But Reggie Bush did freakishly athletic things on a football field that I don't care how long you've been watching football, you don't see year in and year out. He did things that seemed humanly impossible. He seemed like he was faster, more athletic, and better than everyone on the football field. Just like Michael Vick did before Reggie Bush. Johnny Manziel is the next player in that line of guys that I see that's able to do things that you're like, that's just something the coach can't coach you. God gave you that. You weren't supposed to be able to make that play, and you make it. He makes those head-scratching plays if you're a defensive coordinator trying to stop him, and those plays where your fans go crazy when you're watching them.
And the thing about Johnny football, though, is his history and being an unheralded player coming into college. I mean, his backstory is pretty incredible, what he did there at Texas Tech as well. We just asked Doug. Now let's ask you, Johnny football, the most exciting player in college football since... You fill in the blank. We'll take the best answers, reveal them coming up later on in the show. You know, under Bill O'Brien at Penn State, the Nittany Lions went 6-2 in the Big Ten his first year, just 4-4 here this past season. He feels it's time to move on. He's taking the Houston Texans job. So who is the next man up? Who's the good fit there at State College?
If you ask me, my opinion, I'm going to say Al Golden. Al Golden's a Penn State guy, played there, captain on the football team, played linebacker, was there for a year. And the reason why I say him is because when all the Sandusky scandal was going on, he was so far removed that stain is not really with him. So I look at him, I look at Schiano. Now, Schiano's had some issues with dealing with players down in Tampa Bay that got to the media. I don't think Penn State wants to bring somebody in there that may have questionable character issues with what they're going through. But either guy would be a great fit. But if you ask me personally, I think Al Golden's the best guy for the job.
O'Brien was the OC for the Patriots, so it stands to reason on paper he should have success there with the Houston Texans. What other current college coach do you think would be a good fit in the NFL?
No, George OLeary. I mean, he's 67. He's a little bit older, but he's a guy that college players, they need discipline. And NFL players don't need as much discipline as college players, but they respect older coaches that have been there, done that. Coach OLeary was on staff when I was with the Minnesota Vikings. Even though he was on the defensive side of the ball, us offensive guys, we respected him. It's hard for these NFL guys to respect some of these younger coaches. Charlie Strong's another guy in his 50s. He could go there. He's not an older guy, but he could relate to the players. Look at Mike Tomlin, what he was able to do in Pittsburgh. So sometimes a younger guy that looks a little bit like the players, he's in pretty good shape, kind of a fun guy, defensive-minded guy. I think those are two guys. But you look at these college coaches, they haven't always had the best of luck going to the NFL.